Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August 19th, 2026 Board of Douglas County Commissioners 5:30 business meeting. For anybody who's here in person, paper copies of the agenda are available at the table back by the main entrance to the room, and a full packet with all materials is available on our website as always. Reviewing our full agenda, first we'll consider our consent agenda. After that, we'll have general public comment. We welcome general public comment for addressing issues that are not on today's agenda but otherwise related to county business. Given our limited time and the need to have an orderly and efficient meeting, we do apply certain rules regarding public comments. We'll do our best to enforce these rules consistently and without regard to the point of view expressed by the speaker. Each speaker will be limited to a total of 3 minutes of speaking time. However, we will accept public comment of any length in writing. Individual speakers may not donate unused time to other speakers. All comments must address topics within the jurisdiction of the County Commission. And we reserve the right to mute and remove any speaker whose comments are threatening, aggressively hostile, or belligerent. Campaigning for public office during the public comment period is not allowed. Please give your full name and residence for our meeting minutes if comfortable doing so, and please address your comments directly to the commission. We will hear from people who are in person first, then look to our Zoom meeting attendees. Please use the raise your hand function if you wish to provide your public comment virtually. Please also know that comments received by the commission during our meeting do not necessarily represent the views of Douglas County government, but we value the input. We don't usually respond to general public comments on the spot, but if you leave your contact information with county staff, we will try and get specific questions answered. After general public comment concludes, we'll move to our regular business agenda for tonight. There is one item on our regular agenda. For each action item, we'll hear from staff or an applicant, followed by questions from the commission, and then we'll open the floor for public comment that is relevant to that item. Once public comment is concluded, we bring the item back to the commission for further discussion and a vote on any action items. Lastly, a recording of this meeting will be available on the county's YouTube page and website. And with that, commissioners, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody wish to remove anything for further discussion? Seeing none, does anybody in the public wish to remove anything from the consent agenda for further discussion or questions? No virtual hands, Sarah? Okay, we'll bring it back to the commission for a motion then.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to general public comment. Is there anybody here who wishes to provide public comment about items not on today's agenda? Seeing none. Any virtual hands raised yet, Sarah? Okay. We will close general public comment and we'll just glide right on into the regular agenda. Sarah?
Commissioners, Brooke Sauer is going to introduce our 2025 financial statements and introduce our auditor friends.
Thank you, Sarah, and good evening, commissioners. Staff would like to introduce John Nyberger. He is with Allen Gibson Hulick. They are the auditing firm that performed the 2025 financial statement, and he's the Senior Vice President of Assurance Services with that firm. I'll turn it over to him, and then staff has a brief presentation for you tonight to go over some of the information contained in the financial statement and describe some of those sections. So I'll turn it over to John for now.
Brooke. I'm John Nybarker with...
Make sure you use that microphone. Thank you.
With AGH. I'm here to briefly go through our reports with you and then answer any questions that you may have. Starting off, we have about a 4-page separate letter from the financial statements. This is our auditor's communication letter to those charged with governance and includes key matters to keep you updated regarding significant items related to the audit. I won't go through every line this evening, but we'll just kind of hit some of the key points. The first being towards the middle of the first page. And we noted that we did not identify any unusual transactions as part of our audit. Towards the bottom of the first page and on to the second page discusses significant estimates that are included in the financial statements. Not all numbers are easily determinable in the financial statements. Some amounts have to be estimated, and these estimates include the estimated incurred but not reported claims for health insurance, the compensated absences, as well as the net pension liability. Towards the middle of the second page, I'm happy to report that we did not have any difficulties in dealing with our management during our audit this year. And then towards the bottom of that second page, we noted a few audit adjustments as part of our audit. The first relates to the estimated claims liability. The next is a reversal of a payable that was identified in the prior year. And then the last item was just to gross up bond activity for financial statement reporting purposes. Next then is the financial statements. The financial statements on pages 1 through 3 includes the auditor's report. The auditor's report includes standards that we use for the audit, and then most importantly, the opinion that we issued. The opinion can be found in the first section on the first page, and we issued an unmodified opinion under the Kansas Regulatory Basis of Accounting. An unmodified opinion is the highest and best opinion that we're able to issue as auditors, and that always speaks very highly on the financial management when an entity receives an unmodified opinion. Ultimately, the goals for our audit are to determine if the entity complied with laws and regulations, are internal controls in place and operating effectively, and do the financial statements accurately reflect the books and records of the entity? And I'm happy to report that the answer to all of those questions is yes, based on our audit. In closing today, I would like to thank the county staff that worked with us on the audit. An audit is always a huge undertaking, and we appreciate all their assistance and cooperation in completing the audit. So thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions that you may have for me over the audit.
So much for that overview. Any questions, commissioners?
I had a question, but I might save it. Brooke said she's going to do something. So.
Trying to get that full screen for us here. Okay, thank you, John. And commissioners, tonight, before we begin this brief presentation, I just want to take a moment and thank all the staff members that are involved in the preparation of this financial statement. Each year, there are about 35 staff members across all county departments and with our partner agencies or related agencies that contribute audit work papers. This process begins in January and it continues through April when auditors conduct their field work. Depending on what the auditors test, additional follow-up work can extend well into June. So it is a huge undertaking for all county staff members that are involved. This year, those staff members produced around 140 separate reports to complete this financial statement. So we're providing those reports to the auditors so they can do their testing. Now, staff would just like to briefly provide some key information about the 2025 financials before you tonight on the next few slides. So I wanted to first start with a statement of receipts, expenditures, and unencumbered cash summary. So this information is on page 4 of your paper document that was placed in your inbox today, but it also begins on page 56 in your agenda packet. The statement reported an ending unencumbered cash balance of $133.9 million for fiscal year 2025. Staff further broke down this total by fund classification to provide a complete picture of how these balances are allocated for future use. So of that balance, 20% are funds that are restricted in use, meaning that dollars in those funds are limited by external requirements such as grants, donations, or statutory requirements required by state law. 46% of that total are committed funds. So these are dollars that have been set aside by formal action by the board for future spending. So these are things like our capital improvement plan, capital replacement plans, improvement projects, and equipment reserve funds. 7% are assigned funds, which are designated for very specific purposes, such as debt service and business type functions like work comp and health insurance claims paid through the county's trust accounts. Only 27% of that total balance are considered unassigned funds, meaning that they're available for general use within the authority of their originating fund. So this includes unassigned balances in the general fund, which can be used very broadly. Balances in the employee benefits fund, which can only be used for employee benefits. Motor vehicle operations, again, can only be used for motor vehicle operations, road and bridge, and then consolidated fire number 1. So that's a very important distinction to make when we're talking about cash balances that we have at year end. So 73% of the ending unencumbered cash balances on that summary are either restricted, committed, or assigned funds based on these classifications that staff made. I'm going to go ahead and turn the next slide over to Sarah. She'll provide a breakdown of the funds classified as committed in greater detail. And just a reminder, that's that 46% piece of that pie on this slide here. Sarah?
Yeah, Commissioners, the reason why Brooke and I wanted to go into this detail is because it was reported in the paper that of the $133 million was available, that was unencumbered, was unplanned, and that's not true. Fund balance totals are not just for unplanned expenses and emergencies, as it was outlined in the paper. The following funds on the committed funds have all been budgeted, and they're for planned investments in infrastructure and equipment. Since those plans span multiple years, it would be inappropriate and to encumber them, but that doesn't mean that they're unplanned. The total of all of these funds here in the percentages is around 61.2 million, so almost half of those committed funds are half of the 133 million that was outlined in the paper is for equipment and infrastructure investments. It's also a best practice from GFOA that these funds would not be included in any sort of fund balance target because they're really for depreciation for future assets. So with that, I'll turn it back to Brooke.
Thank you, Sarah. Commissioners, I wanted to take just a brief moment to kind of explain the audit schedules and why they're important and how we use them. I've never really gone into this detail about the audit, but I think it's an important part of understanding the financial statement to go through these. So Schedule 1, that summarizes the county's 11 budgeted funds, and it includes Consolidated Fire District number 1. These schedules begin on page 19 of your audit report, and I wrote that it's page 31 of your agenda packet, but I'm not sure that that's the correct page number, so I'm sorry. The county remained under budget in all budgeted funds for 2025. Schedule 2 summaries provided more detailed information for each fund, including both budgeted and non-budgeted funds. All comparisons for those budgeted funds are made against the adopted budget, certified, and submitted to the state. This is an action that we will participate in next week when staff comes before you again to formally adopt our 2027 budget. It is important to note that all budgeted funds listed on the slide, they include cash forward balances into 2026 in the certified budget, except for the general fund. That cash forward amount was reported as $13.5 million. The scheduled totals do not include non-appropriated amounts. So I think that that's another important note to those schedules. And then moving along, Schedule 3 summaries detail financial data for municipal entities that are related to the county's financial statement, but we don't necessarily have their cash balances on our books, but we include them in our financial statement. Those are going to be Douglas County Extension Council, the Lawrence Douglas County Health Department, and the Douglas County Free Fair. And lastly, Schedule 4 reports agency funds that are essentially held in escrow until at year end until tax distributions are made according to statutory deadlines. So Commissioners, as you know, tax payments are due 2 times each year. The first payment is due in December. The second payment is due in May. So we have quite a bit of money held for distribution towards the end of the year. And then it ramps back up towards the middle of May. And we make very large distributions in both January and June. So with that, Commissioners, that's all I had to present for you tonight. Thank you so much for allowing me some time to walk you through that statement. And I'll be happy to stand for any questions that you may have for me. And John's still here too.
Commissioner Dorsey, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, Brooke, why do we call the mental health sales tax a capital fund?
Commissioner, that's a classification that is made by on the financial statement, and it's likely based on the way the ballot measure was.
And I assume it's because it pays debt service, because it has the debt service for the TRC in it. I think that's seen as the overriding classification for that fund because we pay for the debt service out of there. That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Other questions, Commissioners? Seeing none.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry.
not for her.
Okay. Any other questions for Brooke or John?
Yeah,
At
for
this
John.
time, Commissioners?
On page 2 of your separate letter, you talk about adjusting unencumbered cash balance to agree with the prior year report, 2,017,000 and change. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Last year, we had identified an accounts payable item, recorded that balance last year. So essentially, when we got the trial balance information this year, that was a financial statement adjustment last year. We moved that expense into last year's financial statements. The county didn't make that on their side, just continued recording everything. So then we had to back out that transaction this year to record the beginning balance.
So does the beginning balance this year equal the ending balance last year?
It does, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a timing instance of carryover with how that got recorded in the financials versus how the county recorded it on a day-to-day basis.
Gotcha. One more question here. On page 4 of your letter to us, you talk about a comprehensive policy and procedure review. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Really, all of those other matters from page 3. It starts kind of in the middle of page 3. So the electronic fund and wire transfers, cybersecurity, and comprehensive policy and procedure review. We felt all of those items are important for all of our clients. That's included in every letter. There's no specific concerns here at the county or really any of our other clients. We just feel that that's important to bring to your attention. There's matters going on all the time, especially with cybersecurity. So that's why we've decided to include that in our letters.
Thanks.
In regards to that, is that also what you are referencing on page 55 in regards to internal controls? Would that also be a internal control or a performance review? You mentioned at the very last sentence, however, material weaknesses or significant deficiency may exist that were not identified. And so I'm just curious if another form of an audit would benefit, just in case for like a performance review, when we think about like our community partners, if we could benefit from an audit to just better understand if we do have the appropriate internal controls in place.
It's possible. That letter is basically that we don't look at every transaction. So we can't say that everything here at the county is perfect. We operate under materiality and look at an overarching degree. However, we did not, based on our testing of controls and test of details, analytics and inquiry with the county, we did not notice any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses as part of our financial audit. As you're mentioning, there's other types of audits that can go on. We didn't go into that level of detail since we're performing a financial audit. So I guess I can't speak accurately to what that might look like without having performed that audit, but there are options for other types of procedures and audits to occur at any entity.
Thank you. And so I think you're saying that we could potentially benefit from other types of audits or reviews then to better understand opportunities for improvement because no one is perfect, no entity is perfect, and we all can benefit from opportunities to improve.
Sure, there could be an opportunity there, especially if there's concerns with a certain area.
Okay, thank you.
It's actually a question for Sarah, probably. We've also been involved with, some conversations around a financial policy review and updates. So that's, I think we're already kind of ahead of what's being recommended to all your clients in terms of that. So, and you can speak maybe to the process.
Yes, now that we're wrapping budget up and audit up, Brooke and I have talked about our work with Government Finance Officers of America, who is our consultant helping us with the implementation of our new financial business system. And one of the things we specifically asked GFOA to help us do was do a review of our financial policies and determine, do we have any holes? What do we need to add to beef up? They actually gave us a very comprehensive list. And so what Brooke and I want to do is that hopefully within the next, I'd say 30 to 60 days, we're going to bring you that list of complete policies from GFOA, bring it to the commission, let you see kind of the work ahead of us, see if you have some specific areas you want us to work on first. Part of what we're trying to figure out is the timing of what do we do now? What do we need to adjust again after we implement the new finance and HR business system? And also get some commission feedback. So now that we've gotten two big projects for the year with budget and audit out of the way, we can return our attention to the policies.
Remind me, when is the new system due for implementation?
We're just going to go to RFP this fall. So we have not issued the RFP for it. So I think we're scheduled to start the RFP into Q3-ish. And then implementation would be sometime in 2027. And I don't have that full schedule, but we can get you we can get that for you if you'd like.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. We're going to start with HR on that end. Our HR system is the most in need of help. So our first piece of implementation will be the HR payroll system.
I just have one more question for you. On page 56, in regards to report on compliance, it states that you did perform tests of compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements, non-compliance with which could have a direct and material effect on financial statements. However, providing an opinion on compliance with those provisions was not an objective of your audit, and accordingly, we do not express such an opinion. The results of our test disclosed no instance of non-compliance.
Correct. Yeah. Based on our audit, we did not uncover any instances of non-compliance with laws or regulations. Again, we don't audit every transaction, but based on our audit, we're not aware of anything.
Okay. All right. And so it does state that you don't provide an opinion on compliance, but it looks like maybe you are stating some form of an opinion on compliance from what tests you did provide?
Right. Based off of our testing, we did not notice any instances of non-compliance. So we don't issue, I guess, an audit opinion, an unmodified opinion, a qualified opinion, anything on that. We would disclose any findings that we did note, though, however, but we did not note any issues or findings, if that makes sense.
Okay, all right. So if you had found anything that was non-compliant, you would have
We would have
disclosed
noted.
that to us? Okay,
Yes.
all right, okay. Even though you don't typically actually have an opinion on compliance, I think is what I'm gathering?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions, commissioners, for John or Brooke or Sarah? Okay, thank you so much, John. This is a regular agenda item, so we'll open it up for public comment. Does anybody here wish to provide public comment on this item? Anybody raise their hands online yet, Sarah? Okay, then we will close public comment and bring it back to the commission for any additional comments or motions.
I want to say that not only are our finances incredibly complicated in terms of managing all of the compliance with state, federal, local regulations, et cetera, and what we ask for is not to be small either. I think it's a phenomenal piece of work that our staff has put together to work with the auditor and to have no issues, no instances of noncompliance found, and no material misstatements found. I mean, it's always framed kind of in terms of the negative when you read an audit. But I just want to make sure that we celebrate that there was a lot of fantastic work done by, yes, it might have been 35 people across all departments, but our financial team is really the 3 or 4 of our folks that are 2 of which are sitting in the room here. So I just want to celebrate the work that you did and keeping us in line, and this is something to be really proud of and celebrate. And I wish the community were here asking more questions about when we've done things right.
Thank you, Commissioner Willie. There are no other comments from commissioners. I will go ahead and move forward with making a motion to accept the 2025 financial statement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. Passes unanimously. Thank you so much, staff. Thank you for being here, John, and for your work. We'll see you next year. And with that, commissioners, that concludes our regular business agenda. Do we have any appointments queued up that we need to discuss this week?
I think you took care of them all last week.
Yep. Thank you, Commissioner Willie. And with that, we'll move on to the memo from Sarah first.
Thanks, commissioners. Added some new dates to your memo in the packet related to some events for Habitat for Humanity and headquarters, United Way. So there's a bunch of new dates added. Next week, we do not have a work session. It is our budget public hearing at 5:30. And then the week after, we are not meeting on September 2nd. So we're off on September 2nd. And then we are beginning to populate your September agendas with work sessions starting at 4 o'clock. So stay tuned, more to come on those. That's all I have for you, commissioners.
Thanks, Sarah. Commissioners, any questions for Sarah or any miscellaneous items for the good of the order tonight? Okay, well then we are adjourned before 6 p.m. Have a good night, everybody.